Yeah.
I read about hair color and how it ages people.
Hair color does? The blonder it is, the more older you look?
If you, you can make yourself look older if you change your hair color.
Yeah. I guess I can see that.
Yeah, so I was reading.
Is there like one that
you should stay within
correlates
like
with the other?
2 shades within your natural color.
Really?
That's what they say.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because God created you with certain color eyebrows and eyelashes and eye color and so you don't want to go stray too far from what you were born.
The norm.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Ready.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to clap my hands.
Yes, you do.
Why don't you do it today? Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm not going to.
Please. Please.
Yeah, don't bat those little browns.
Please. Come on, do it.
No.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Trish Jansen, and this is episode 32 of Thrive TV. Question and answer time with Jerry.
Sorry, keep talking.
Okay. All right. Here you are. All right. So we're back to.
We have to be able to see ourselves.
We're back to quiz Jerry. Grilling.
Yeah.
Actually. So
Grill.
the very first question.
Question number 1.
Yeah. What'd you have for breakfast today?
Eggs and kale. And that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Where's your healthy fat?
Eggs. Egg yolks.
What'd you cook them in?
Bacon fat, actually.
Okay.
Kay had eggs and bacon, and I used the bacon fat.
Oh, nice.
So
Good.
I generally cook them in coconut oil otherwise, but if
I think they call those dirty eggs. At least that's what my grandma used to call
them. Cook them with bacon fat?
Dirty eggs. Because they make your eggs look kind of dirty.
Because the leftover remnants.
Giblets from the bacon and all that. Yeah.
It also makes it delicious tasting. So
bacon does that to anything.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
No, it was that's pretty normal. Maybe once a week I'll have potatoes, fried potatoes, fry them in coconut oil with like Tony Sachets or maybe just salt and pepper or something like that on them.
That sounds good.
But 9 times out of 10 it's just eggs and bacon, and then kale or my go-to is just kale. Yeah, my go-to is just kale.
Well,
so I rotate between that and Italian kale in the morning.
Italian kale?
Yeah.
Is that Laco? It starts with an L? It's real dark.
It's
dark green.
Yeah. It looks, it's much more leafy looking. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Is it got a white
it's dark
stem? Whitish stem? Down the middle?
Yeah, it's more white than the rest of the leaf.
Yeah.
But it's very dark leaf.
It's really dark, almost black looking.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it's a much different taste than regular kale is.
Stronger?
The texture is a lot different. It's not as like regular kale is very lettucey, like whatever, fluffy or whatever. But Italian kale is not like that. It's more dense.
Yeah, I've had that. That's the kind I've bought. If I buy it loose, not loose, but bound over in the organic section. Yeah. Because the other I think is more baby kale. Yeah. That's what they define. And it's a little bit, it's not as tough.
Yeah.
Firm.
Yeah.
So, that sounds good.
Yeah. What'd you have for breakfast?
I had a protein shake this morning.
I was going to guess a protein bar.
No. Too early for a bar.
Oh, okay.
No, I had a protein shake just because I was busy cooking and messing around and had to hurry up and eat something and run out the door. So I'll have some eggs probably for lunch when I go home. One day this week I had eggs twice.
Twice in the same day?
Twice in the same day.
You cooked them both days, or you had hard-boiled eggs?
I cooked them both
Or both
days.
times? Both times?
I made like an omelet with some kale and peppers in the morning and had a couple pieces of bacon. And then after I trained that night, I went home and I fixed myself another big omelet and put a little cheese on it and grass-fed, of course. But it was good.
Nice.
It was good. Yeah, so that was 4 eggs in one day. Tisk, tisk.
Yeah, right.
All right, so
Good
now
question.
really.
Good question.
Okay, here's the real question.
Okay, real question.
Okay, at what age?
Age. Go ahead.
At what age do you think children or adolescents can start weight training safely, or do some form of organized training?
Whenever their motor skills are somewhat developed, and what I mean by that is, so basically when they can get up and walk and move in a not stumbly, fumbly type of way, which is really early for, I mean, whatever, 3 to 5 or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they could just, go deadlift heavy and things like that, although it's not going to be bad, but I wouldn't do that with a 3 to 5 year old. So if we're talking about, I'll go that route. If we're talking about resistance training, like doing deadlifts and bench pressing and things like that,
something
that you're going to tax your joints and tax your ligaments and so on, then it can be 8 to 10. It can be whatever age. So a lot of parents and a lot of doctors, well, they are doctors, I don't know why I'm doing quotations, but medical professionals have been scared of putting children into resistance training or doing resistance training with them before adolescence or in adolescence before puberty because of scared of growth problems, right? Of stunning their growth. That's almost as big a lie as fats are bad for you, because the only thing that resistance training does in adolescence is strengthen your growth plates and strengthen your ligaments and strengthen your bones, so that whenever you do go through your growth spurt, you have a less likelihood. Whenever you're going through your growth spurt, you have a higher likelihood of being injured, because your ligaments and muscles and bones are more susceptible because you're growing. So you're having to fill those voids with your nutrients, and it takes time. Whenever you do resistance training in adolescence, then you have that buildup, and whenever you go through the growth spurt, that risk is significantly reduced. Okay? And also, you are developing coordination if you do that beforehand. And resistance training is relative to everybody, so resistance training for an 8 to 10 year old will be different than resistance training from a 15 to 18 year old. So they can do deadlifts and things like that at 8 to 10 years old, but it's not going to be a 15 to 18 year old might be deadlifting 300 pounds, whereas an 8 to 10 year old might be deadlifting 40 to 50 pounds. But the 8 to 10 year old is going to get a whole lot out of body weight training, just push-ups, body squats, unilateral work, and things along those lines to develop their coordination, so that whenever they do go through puberty, they can, that translation is better. They deal with it a lot better than if they're just not prepared. So, but that's a question that you get a lot, that you hear a lot, right, because that fear is out there of stunning growth and things like that.
And what's the theory behind that it would stunt someone's growth to start them weight training too early?
So why do people think that it would stunt their growth?
Yeah, there has to be.
I think it's just the idea of putting compression on the body and it literally pushing, not letting them grow because of the weight, pushing them down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, but
it's more of a like gravitational, like it's all in your mindset. I think if you think about it hard enough, you can justify that. Like, yeah, the weight's holding them down, so it's not going to let them move. But it's all just been made up over time. It's all those fears about resistance training studying kids' growth. It's all something that's been made up. There was never any scientific proof. There's never anything along those lines. The medical world just said, don't do it. So everyone listened, and it scared everybody.
Maybe they're just afraid of kids going out and getting crazy and not being supervised.
Yeah, there's probably some of that as well, which I understand.
That happens amongst the big boys too.
Yeah, there's plenty of that in high school.
Right.
Kids go in and get hurt because they're trying to do things that they shouldn't do without proper supervision and coaching.
Right.
So, but no, that is a really good question, and that's something that I think more young athletes should take advantage of, although they can't make the decision on their own most of the time because their parents have to. But most young athletes all young athletes should take advantage of some sort of resistance program. It's just going to help them develop better.
Good. All right. That's really a common question that
it really is.
You hear a lot. Okay, I brought my notebook today because I'm going to be taking notes.
You're going to take notes?
I think so, on a couple of these.
Okay.
All right, so number 2 is the best approach for injury healing. So let's put it in this context. So you have somebody that you're training, or they're out a weekend warrior and they hurt themselves. But they've been weight training and pretty good shape. What's the approach? Do you sit them down? Do you still have them come and do some type of training while they're, I guess it's based on the injury. So let's talk about, a strained or you can't really do that with a fracture. But if it's something, relatively minor, what's the best approach for healing an injury if you're training on a regular basis?
If you're used to training on a regular basis. So, yes, number 1, it depends on the injury. That's number 1. If you have a broken back, then you're going to be significantly more limited. However, 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. And an injury, because of training, is typically a ligament injury, or, you could have a broken bone or a muscle pull or something along those lines. Most people, and what you're typically told to do is rest, right?
Oh, rice.
So that's rest.
Rice, though.
Well, rest, ice, compression,
elevate.
And elevate, right? And all those, ice, I'm up in the air about, but I'm not going to go into that. Compression, yes, and elevation, yes. I mean, those things are definites. Rest, in my mind, is a yes, but it's extremely short term. It's much shorter than most people and most medical professionals would tell you. Because when you stop moving, your body, when you stop moving, your body stops moving. So rest, 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10 is not as long as you think that it should be. Rest is however long it takes for you to wrap your head around the pain and then get up and get going. So that can be the next day. I've seen films of ACL repairs, guys walking normally after the day after ACL repairs, walking normally. Now a physical therapist is with them and showing them how to do it, or they're in water, like just moving, doing their normal gait in water. You see what I mean? So there's no gravity. There's no gravity pulling them down. So it's all about figuring out how to take your normal movement or the normal thing that you do and making it as elementary as possible. So how do you make it as simple as possible and allow yourself to continue to do it, right? Or what else can you do? So I'll give you an example. One of our athletes, when he was in 8th or 9th grade, I'm pretty sure it was 8th grade, he broke his thumb, or one of his fingers, I think it was his thumb, trying to slap a baseball out of the way, which is another. He was trying to slap a pitch out of the way so it didn't hit him in the head. Instead, he broke his thumb. And he was lifting the Monday after he broke his thumb. I think he broke his thumb in the middle of the week, and he was lifting the Monday after that. We did legs for 6 weeks, basically. Legs and one-arm presses. Because his left arm might have been useless, but he still had a right arm, and he still had a lower body.
So there's no problem doing one-arm presses?
One side.
Yeah.
No. So your body, obviously in your mind you think, well, my one side's going to become more dominant than the other. And yes, there is an element of that. However, research has shown that there is this effect that if you work one side of your body, it has the ability to build
I've read that.
a pattern and strengthen the other side of your body. It's obviously not to the same degree, but it's still there. It's still, there's that translation from one side to the other that you just don't think happens, but it does. So yeah, you can still do, if you have one broken leg, you have another leg that you can use, and then you have an upper body you can use. So it's really just about what else can you do, number one, to continue moving, and then taking the injury, again, so you should seek out some sort of professional help. In my opinion, who that is, that's, I guess that's for you to decide, but seek out someone to help you get rid of the pain, and then on top of that, try and perform your everyday life as normal as possible without pain, as slow as you can. So whenever you hurt your calf, I just told you to move very slow, without compensating. Okay, right?
Right.
How slow can you walk normally without compensating? So what you don't want to develop are compensations, which lead to asymmetries in your body, which lead to further injury down the road. So you want to be able to move in a certain way without having to compensate for the injury. So if that means walking as slowly as possible, and you don't, obviously in real life, you have to just kind of move, so you have to deal with it. But when you can, and you can move on purpose, then do it on purpose. Like, try and move as normal as possible. So,
keep moving.
Short answer is, it's the answer is never rest and sit and do nothing. It just never is. It's just never sit and do nothing. So what else? There's always something that you can do. Every injury, every failure. That's, I'm not going to get into that, but every injury gives you the opportunity to work on something else.
Okay. Makes sense. And that's true.
Yeah.
I know it to be true, so that's good. All right. I'm going to skip down to question number 4 because I'm going to put 3 and 5 together.
Okay.
So here's the next question, and this is from me. I was recently reading an article, and define what drop sets are.
Okay.
When would you do these, and what are their benefits? Okay.
So a drop set is whenever you perform a given weight for a number of reps, and then drop. So you can do it a thousand different ways, but generally you might drop a weight 3 times or 2 times. So you start with the given weight, you perform it for a number of reps, and then you drop it a percentage or a given amount of weight again. Not again, but so you start with, say, 200 pounds, you do that for 4 reps of whatever it is, and then you drop, say, 20 pounds, so that's 180 pounds, you do that for 4 more reps, drop another 20 pounds, so you're at 160, you do that for 4 more reps. That's a drop set, so you do that one after another, right? There's no rest in between. Okay. Going straight from 2 to 200 to 180 to 160, doing 4 reps of each, or whatever the number is, whatever the weights are. Okay. But the idea is start with the weight, drop some weight, and drop some weight. Okay. Do
straight and row.
Some number of reps, right? Whatever exercise it is. Okay. Generally, you do that at the end of your sets of exercises. So if you're doing 3 sets of an exercise, you generally do that on the last set. Okay. Because you don't want to burn yourself out on the first set. Okay. The idea is failure. So
it pushes you to failure?
Well, you're never to failure, because if you think about it, you're only to failure at the weight you're using. Anytime you do an exercise with weight, anytime you're doing resistance training or whatever you're doing, you're only to failure. You're only going to failure with the weight that you're using, right? So again, if you're bench pressing 200 pounds and you can only do it 4 times, you go to failure, but it's failure at 200 pounds. Okay. You're not at failure. Right.
So because you could do 150.
Right, and then you can do 100, and then you can do 50, and then you can do push-ups. I mean, you see what I mean? So you're not at muscular failure, you're at muscular failure at 200 pounds. Okay. So the idea is to take that 200 pounds and then just take your failure longer into progression instead of just staying at the 200 pounds.
Okay, so how does this benefit you? What's it do for you as far as your training adaptation or whatever?
It builds. So it's mostly a bodybuilding type of modality, in that again, bodybuilding is all about taking your muscles to failure and tearing them down as much as possible so that they rebuild back up and get bigger, right? So that's the idea behind it, is to tailor your muscles down as much as possible with whatever exercise you're doing, and then let them repair and build back up. However, you can also do it within a strength realm. So if you're doing, heavy sets of 4, which is what we're talking about, then you can do another heavy set of 4 and another heavy set of 4, although it's not your normal heavy sets. Your max out might be 200 pounds at 4 reps, but then once your failure there, your next max out is 180 pounds if you go straight to it, and then 160. You see what I mean? So you're getting 3 heavy sets within like 45 seconds.
Totally.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, sure. So it's not something that we do here, is it?
It's not something that we do here. However, I wouldn't say that it's something that we'll never do here. I just think it's something that we haven't found a place to efficiently plug it in. Because I think it's a great training modality. I think it's a great thing because it teaches you to control weights at different levels of fatigue. So, you have to know where you are on the exercise continuum of whatever exercise you're doing and how well you can do it. So if you're sloppy at deadlifts, you don't want to do drop sets with deadlifts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So it's being able to do the deadlift efficiently and effectively without hurting yourself first before you implement these things. A lot of people do drop sets on like cable machines and things like that with dumbbell with curls or press downs, and that stuff's easy and that's fine. Don't get me wrong, but it's simple. So you pick a weight and then you go, you go down the rack, or you start. I think you told me that with side raises at the other gym that you would do side raises for 20 reps with one weight and then go down and do them again and go down.
That is pyramid.
No, that's drop sets. That's drop sets.
Okay.
If you're going down weights and you're going immediately down, that's a drop set.
Okay. Then I have done those. Okay. All right.
So pyramiding and drop setting are 2 different things. Pyramiding is sets, regressing or progressing sets, but you're resting in between. So like for instance, we do 10, 8, 6, 6, but those are our sets. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You do a set of 10, you rest, or go to your next exercise.
Right, there's a different
set
exercise
8,
in between.
Go to your exercise, set of 6.
Okay, yeah.
So you're not going immediately one after another. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the difference. That would be the difference between like a pyramid type of set or a drop set. A drop set, you're doing it in a set.
Yeah, you're staying right there and just dropping the weights down. Okay. All right. That's good.
Yeah, good question.
Interesting. All right. So this next question is from Carly, a nutrition client. Sent this to me this week, and so I'm going to ask you. Okay. I've already answered her, by the way. Okay. I want to make sure that we're in agreement here. So Garcinia Cambogia. Okay. Seeing a lot of
hype about
this. Is it safe and beneficial for weight loss?
So this question goes, Carly, thank you for the question. It's a really good question because anytime you hear a lot about something, then you're curious about it. So you think, well, there has to be some efficacy behind it because you're hearing a lot about it. Anytime there is a vitamin, mineral, herb, whatever that has been pinpointed to help with weight loss, the important thing to understand is that there is a correlation between weight loss and possibly taking that herb, vitamin, or mineral. There's a correlation. Whether or not it's actually causing it, there's not a causation effect whenever they're doing these types of research things. So what I mean is they're not limiting everything down to the exact, like everything else in these people's lifestyle is limited, and this is what they're giving them, and that's what's causing it. Like definitely that's what's causing it. We're giving them this, and some of them are losing weight, but some of them aren't. So there's a correlation there. So what I'll tell you is it safe? Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about it. Luckily enough, not luckily, but I don't watch a whole lot of TV or read a lot of newspapers or read a lot of magazines. So I have, people have asked me this question, so that's the only reason why I've even looked into it. Is it safe? Yeah, it's probably safe. It's an herb. It probably has some sort of other health benefits to it. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but most herbs have some other health benefit to them. Will it help with fat loss? Maybe. That's the best answer I can give you. Number one, again, if your nutrition is not on point, the rest of it doesn't matter. And I know, Carly, for you, that your nutrition is great. I know, like I said, Trevis has been working with you, and before even Trevis, I know you were doing a good job. So, but if you're for anybody else, if your nutrition is not on point, it doesn't matter. You can't take this, or you can't take any other like miracle herb or vitamin and mineral and lose weight to a significant degree. You might get lucky and lose a couple pounds, but that's going to be the end.
Well, here's the thing that I think with these kinds of things, I mean, any of them out there, not this one in particular, it's really technically what's going to happen. Are you going to take this for the rest of your life?
Right.
Are you going to, because usually they're not cheap. They cost money. So that's my question. Are you planning on doing this for the rest of your life?
Right.
And what happens if you don't learn good nutrition and how to eat well? What happens when you can no longer afford that or you can't take it? I think that's key too, to think about when you're looking at any of these things. Shakeology, Advocare, any of those that's not sustainable in my eyes as a way to live your life. So that money can be better spent, learning how to eat well.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah,
that's an awesome point. Really, if you're still spending your money on normal food, on going out to eat, and you're spending your money, your extra money on Advocare, you're right, that's not sustainable.
No.
I mean, because you're spending, I don't have any clue, $100 a week.
It's not cheap. These things are expensive, and
so,
it's short term.
Yeah.
Really. So I think I would rather invest in something that's going to have a long term return back to me, which I basically said, put it into education and learning, hire a coach. Not that I'm one and all that, but
there are coaches
it's
everywhere.
something that you need to do for yourself that in the long term, it's an investment. So that's just how I feel about a lot of those things.
Yeah. So, no, that's a very good point. But it's a good question. Get your nutrition on point, and if you want to, try it.
Yeah, that's the latest thing that it seems that is being pushed out there. All right, good. All right, the next question that I have is, we talked a little bit about this yesterday when we met, and I did my homework assignment last night. So I want to talk about, because I think this is important, is the use of creatine, and why would you use creatine? And is there any benefit to loading? Because you read, some people load up with it. Other people say there's no benefit. And then should athletes and people who use creatine, what I found interesting is the medicinal uses for creatine now are really interesting for some of the diseases. And I guess the research is still going on there. So is there any benefit to cycling off and on of creatine?
So let me start at the beginning. Creatine has been around for decades and decades and decades. And at some point along the lines, it got a bad name behind it. And people started lumping it in with steroids and growth hormone. And started saying it kills your kidney function and does all these other things to you. So, again, the medical world, but just in general, just some other people
So he came in the back door.
Cowboy.
Came in the back door?
Yeah. Well, it's open.
Oh.
And he's talking to Sharon. Crawling on the ground. That's funny. I think he's saying he'll wash her car. Yeah, I think that's what he said. I'll wash your car.
Hey,
that's
it's
funny.
overfit.
Yeah. Tell him we have a couple. Sorry.
I'm like, did I hear a man's voice?
That's funny.
Sharon's like taking some steroids out there.
Yeah.
She's talking like a man now.
Yeah, I thought.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah. Did he say he'd wash your car for you?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I know. What a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. We'll tell him we'll take him over.
All right, back to creatine.
So creatine's been around for decades. Some point along the lines, it got a bad name.
And it's in food. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, red meat.
Yeah.
And other things, but there's tons of it in red meat.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, before creatine powder became so abundant, bodybuilders ate steaks after their workouts and things like that to get the creatine out.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
I don't think they knew what they were doing on purpose, but they knew that it did something. Yeah, they knew it did something. So anyway, somewhere along the lines, you got a bad name. This whole time, studies are being done on creatine, and they've been done on creatine for years. It's the most studied supplement out there, and there has not been any standing study that can say that it's damaging to your kidneys in correct moderate amounts, that it's damaging to your kidneys, or that it again stunts growth or is bad for adolescents, or even elders and things like that. So to get into the actual question, which was what?
What's should you
benefits?
load?
Okay.
Should you load rather than just
benefits, so on and so
follow
forth.
the and start taking it?
So loading creatine is essentially doing heavy doses of creatine for about 10 days.
Yeah.
And heavy doses a dose is 5 grams. Heavy doses of creatine can be anywhere from like double that to quadruple that or more. So loading is hyper saturating your muscles and then coming down to a sustainable dose and then leveling out. Whereas some people just take a normal dose, 5 grams, and they just do that. Now, from what I can tell, I don't think that there's a huge difference between loading or just like starting to take and taking.
Right.
It just takes longer. If you start to take it, it just takes a little longer for your muscles for it to saturate your body, for your body to start assimilating it or start processing it or whatever. With loading, it's just faster. It just happens a little faster. Whether or not there's a huge benefit there, I don't think so. So, just taking a dose a day from the beginning is fine.
You take it every day or just training days?
Every day. So here's the thing about creatine. Creatine is not a stimulant. And whenever you talk about cycling something, it's because it's stimulating your body, and then your body becomes adaptive, and then you have to drop it off because your body adapts to it, and then you have to drop it off so that it unadapts, so that it'll get some sort of effect again, right? Creatine is not that way. It's not a stimulant, so there is no adaptation and then level and then drop off. It's just what you'll notice with creatine whenever you start to take it is you don't see anything happen for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden things start to happen, and then it's just kind of like steady and gradual from there. Now, yes, there is a plateau, but there is no if you come off of it, there's no drastic drop. There is somewhat of a drop, but there's no drastic back uptick once you get back on it. Just because there is no, it's not a stimulant effect. It's get in there, saturate your body, give your body this thing to be able to utilize more of, and just keep it there.
Right. So the benefits of it is it helps with recovery. It helps endurance or strength.
So most people use creatine again to get stronger or to get bigger. That's what most people use it for. Most people think that bodybuilders should take it, or that powerlifters and things like that should take it, but I think anybody who is resistance training, and like you said, and this is what is hard for people to understand, anybody over the age of like 60 or 70, they should take it even if they're not resistance training.
It's got some neuromuscular benefits.
Yeah, it has. It's been proven to improve cognitive ability, to improve neurological function. It's been proven to help with joint function. It's been proven to help with, again, all these other medicinal purposes that are beyond like just building strength and getting bigger.
They even say there's some benefit to it. They say to endurance athletes, and if they take that with, I believe it was after, they can like load up their glycogen stores faster and better using creatine.
Yeah,
because I don't think endurance athletes think about
creatine because they think
that's for a bodybuilder. Or
because again, creatine. Some studies have shown that creatine causes if you get out and you run a lot and you sweat a lot, it'll cause you to cramp, or it'll cause your nervous system to not function as efficiently, I guess. But what those studies don't take into account, again, is water intake and then food intake. So taken correctly, there's no reason why you should have any side effects of it. There should be no side effects taken correctly with correct water intake and correct food intake. And anybody can get benefit out of it. I don't, no matter what your goals is.
Lou Gehrig's disease, which I thought, and I guess there's some people that have some kind of. It was interesting. This breaks down into creatinine, which is a lab test that shows kidney function. So they talked about that, which I thought that was interesting because you hear that it could damage your kidneys.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that must be what they're referring to. It breaks down into that, and that's a level that reflects kidney function. So if you have too much of it, then that's going to be high. But I was interested in the all the medicinal side to this treatment.
The amount of stuff that it's been proven to help, I can't even list it all to you because the list it's
pretty long.
It's pretty long. I mean, there's a list of 50, 60 things that it's been proven to help.
And I think it's been, like you said, been around for
since
been 1960s?
Around for decades and decades and decades. 50, 60 years in powder and supplement form.
Right, because they talk about gels and pills and what's the best form, and that creatine monohydrate is the one that you want
so
to
there's
take.
a bunch of them. There are a bunch of them, but creatine monohydrate has been the most studied. The benefits that they say that you get out of the other ones are that they're absorbed faster, but then again you're talking about like seconds and minutes. You're not talking about anything significant. It's just like the difference between whey protein and casein protein. You're supposed to take casein because it absorbs slower, but you're talking about minutes slower. You're not talking about anything significant.
And don't get it from China.
Don't get it from China.
That's what they.
But you'd be surprised that like broccoli has creatine in it.
Yeah.
Many veggies have it. Most meats have it. Red meat has a lot of creatine in it. So if you eat red meat, then you're taking creatine. So
Yeah. So, that was interesting to me. I'd never heard that, so I learned a lot from reading that chapter in that book. So. All right, well, that's cool. So it's okay to take long term.
Yeah,
you're eating it every day.
Yeah, if you're eating red meat every day, or broccoli, or veggies, then you're getting it every day. Now, obviously, again, there's a point of diminishing returns, and that's when you talk about kidney function. Like if you're taking 20 grams, 30 grams a day for a long, sustainable time, there's a chance that you might have some kidney issues and other issues. But that's with anything. Right. Like if you eat 5 pounds of broccoli a day,
you're going to have some issues.
You're going to have some issues at some point. So,
yeah.
So,
that's a lot of broccoli.
Right.
I think people can do that. But Good. All right. So
That's a good question.
yeah. All right.
That's something that a lot of people ask about.
Oh, there'll be more of those.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
All
Okay. So that's it. You did a great job.
All right. Nice job.
All right.
Good
All
questions
right.
today.
Yes. So thank you everybody for watching. Remember, you can send your questions. Anything you want to know more about. I'm sure he can tell you. Send them to myself, Travis at thriveforstrength.com, or
Thrive Fitness on Twitter at the Thrive Pack.
all right. Goodbye. Have a great weekend. Enjoy this nice weather.